Atlanta, Georgia, December 29. Florida Gators defensive lineman Jachai Polite, 99, during the Peach Bowl between the Florida Gators and the Michigan Wolverines on December 29, 2018 at Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta, Georgia. Photo by Michael Wade, Icon Sportswire via Getty Images. Excluding Kyler Fackrell, who had a career season with 10.5 sacks, the Green Bay Packers outside linebackers had a total of 7.5 sacks. For a team that runs a 3-4 defense as the Packers do, that number is too low. If it wasn't for Fackrell, the Packers' outside linebacker sack output would have been embarrassing. Luckily for Fackrell, and defensive coordinator Mike Pettini's creative mind, the total sack output by the Packers' defense wasn't as embarrassing as it could have been. The outside linebacker position for the Packers is in need of an infusion of talent. This is something they are hoping to do through this year's NFL Draft. The Packers' outside linebackers not only need talent but might just need some bodies as well. Clay Matthews is a free agent this offseason. Although there is a small chance that he might return, many are expecting him to depart. Fellow outside linebacker Nick Perry also might depart, although not by his choice. Perry once again dealt with injuries this past season. That has been a common occurrence with Perry throughout his career. In the 9 games he was healthy enough to play in last season, he only registered 1.5 sacks. Perry is in line to make $5.2 million in base salary next season. Because of that, and his constant injury issues, he might be a salary cap casualty. If both Matthews and Perry depart, that would leave Fackrell and Reggie Gilbert as the only Packers outside linebackers who have seen extensive playing time on the roster. Finding depth will be vital, but the Packers outside linebacker group also needs some talent. It wouldn't be surprising if Packers top personnel man Brian Gutekunst utilizes both free agency and the draft to upgrade the Packers outside linebackers. There are options in free agency, but there seems to be a lot of quality prospects at this position in this year's draft as well. Gutekunst and the Packers can't ignore the position as they did in last year's draft. It is crucial that the Packers find some help for the position in this year's draft. Possible prospects at number 12. Luckily for the Packers and Gutekunst, this year's draft, in the first round, is deep with quality outside linebacker prospects. With the Packers owning the number 12 overall pick, they should be able to land a prospect who can contribute in his rookie season. With the help of Daniel Parlagreco of DTP Draft Scout and his draft guide, LWOPF has highlighted 2 prospects that might be available at 12 and that would help upgrade the Packers' outside linebacker group. Montez Sweat, Mississippi State University. Sweat is listed as the number 3 outside linebacker, edge pass rusher in Parlagreco's draft guide. He is a mammoth man, standing 6 feet 6 inches and weight over 250 pounds. His physical stature reminds us a lot of former Packers pass rusher Julius Peppers, except lighter. He is coming off a strong senior season for the Bulldogs. He registered 12 sacks and had 14.5 tackles for loss this past season. If his play this season wasn't enough to draw the attention of NFL scouts, his play at this year's Senior Bowl certainly was. He was one of the best players at the Senior Bowl. He stood out in practice and had a strong game. He was able to show NFL scouts he is an exceptional pass rusher and has the size and speed to play at the next level. Sweat has the ability and size to be productive at the next level, but he does have some red flags. He started his college career at Michigan State, but was suspended for a season for violating team rules. That led to him transferring to Mississippi State. Some will question his character because of the season-long suspension. Along with the character question, some question if Sweat can play outside linebacker in a 3-4 defensive alignment. He is a pure pass rusher and wasn't asked to drop back into coverage at Mississippi State too often. In fact, Parlagreco believes that his best position would be at a defensive end in a 4-3 defense. Jachai Polite, University of Florida. If you follow possible Packers draft choices to join the Packers outside linebacker group, then you know Jachai Polite quite well. Polite is quite often the Packers' number 12 draft pick in mock drafts. Rated as Parlagreco's number 6 outside linebacker, edge pass rusher, Polite seems to have a lot of upside. He only had one productive season at Florida. The past season, he had 11 sacks and 19.5 tackles for loss. He showed a lot of burst coming off the edge as a pass rusher. He is smaller than Sweat, 6 feet 2 inches 242 pounds, but is more athletic. Although he doesn't have the experience in dropping back into coverage, he does have the athletic ability to do so if needed. Although he has the athletic ability to be a productive pass rusher, he doesn't have the track record. He only had the one productive season at Florida. Because of that, some teams might be reluctant to spend a high pick on a player that only has stood out in just one season. Late first-round possibilities. While Gutekunst shouldn't ignore upgrading the Packers' outside linebackers through the draft, he could wait to address the position. When we say wait, we mean until they are on the clock at number 30. The Packers might find it hard to pass up on an upper-echelon tight end or offensive tackle at number 12, so they could push selecting an outside linebacker until number 30. If that turns out to be a reality, there are a couple of possible outside linebacker prospects the Packers could look at. Brian Burns, Florida State. Parlagreco rates Burns as his number 7 rated outside linebacker, edge pass rusher. Burns played 3 years at Florida State. In his 3 seasons, he totaled 23 sacks and had 38.5 tackles for loss. This past season, his most productive, he had 10 sacks and 15.5 tackles for loss. He has shown that he is capable at getting to the quarterback, something that NFL teams are looking for. While you can't question Burns' pass rushing ability, there are some questions to Burns' play. He is very thin for an edge pass rusher, 235 pounds, which makes some scouts believe he would struggle against the run. Because of his lack of girth, a defensive coordinator wouldn't be able to line him up inside in certain packages. Pettini likes to move around his pass rushers, something he might not be able to do with Burns. O'Shane Examines, Old Dominion. Parlagreco has Examines ranked 11th on his outside linebacker, edge pass rusher list. A ranking we believe is too low for somebody of Examines' ability. Although he played in a less talented conference at Old Dominion, all Examines did was produce. Last season, he had 11.5 sacks, 18 tackles for loss, 1 interception and forced 4 fumbles. In his college career, he totaled 32.5 sacks, had 51 tackles for loss, and forced an incredible 11 fumbles. The Packers' outside linebackers haven't had an outside linebacker that has forced turnovers since Matthews was in his prime. If they were to select Examines, they would be getting a player who has the track record of forcing turnovers. Because he played at Old Dominion, some NFL teams will question if Examines can do it at the NFL level. He also struggled at times against the run, something he will need to learn to do if he is going to be a full-time outside linebacker. Me photo, embed from Getty Images.